In this world, where masks often hide true intentions, how do you discern the user from the friend, the manipulator from the ally? I'm here to unveil 12 hardcore Stoic principles that will illuminate the dark corners of human behavior, revealing the signs of when someone is using you. These are not mere philosophical musings. They are survival tools in the battleground of human relationships. Prepare to challenge your perceptions and arm yourself with wisdom. Subscribe and join me in this journey of enlightenment. Let's delve into the heart of Stoicism. Consider the comments that seem harmless on the surface yet carry a sting. A jest that masks contempt. A casual remark laden with criticism. These are not just words. They are tools wielded with precision to diminish, to erode self-esteem. Why do some choose this path of subtle aggression? Is it a reflection of their own insecurities, a need to elevate themselves by lowering others? Today, we delve into the nature of these diminishing comments. We'll uncover their veiled intentions and understand how they affect the very fabric of our self-perception and interpersonal dynamics. But more importantly, we'll learn how to recognize and respond to these interactions, not with bitterness or retaliation, but with the strength and equanimity that comes from a deep understanding of human nature and self-worth. In the intricate tapestry of human interactions, there's a subtle thread that often goes unnoticed, yet has the power to unravel even the strongest of bonds. Today we're talking about diminishing comments, those seemingly innocuous remarks that carry a hidden sting. At first glance, these comments might masquerade as playful teasing or casual banter, but let's peel back the layers. What we find is a nuanced form of manipulation, a tactic to undermine and belittle. It's a dance of words where one person's ego is bolstered at the expense of another's self-esteem. But why do people resort to such tactics? Is it a manifestation of their own insecurities, or a subconscious play for power and control? The reasons can be as varied as the individuals themselves, but the impact, more often than not, is universally damaging. The Stoics believed in the power of self-mastery and resilience. They taught us that while we cannot control what others say or do, we can control how we respond. This wisdom holds especially true in the face of diminishing comments. The goal is not to react with hurt or aggression, but to respond with a measured, self-assured calmness. So how do we handle these interactions? It starts with awareness. Recognizing these comments for what they are is the first step. Next is the response. This could mean addressing the issue directly, setting clear boundaries, or in some cases, choosing disengagement over confrontation. Ultimately, it's about nurturing an inner fortitude that stands undisturbed by external turbulence. It's about knowing your worth and not allowing anyone's words to dictate your self-value. Remember, in the grand narrative of your life, you're the author, and it's up to you to decide which voices shape your story. In the intricate web of human interactions, one of the most profound yet often overlooked betrayals is that of a broken promise. These are not mere lapses in commitment. They are, more often than not, deliberate deceptions that leave a lasting impact on the dynamics of trust and respect in relationships. Let's consider the nature of these broken promises. At their core, they are commitments made with no intention of fulfillment. They serve as a tool, a means to an end. The promiser might use them to gain something from the other person or to paint a favorable image of themselves. But what does it really signify when they fail to honor these promises? The psychological impact of such behavior is profound. For the person on the receiving end, it's not just about a specific unmet expectation. It's about the erosion of trust. It raises questions about the sincerity and reliability of the one who broke the promise. This breach, small or large, starts to chip away at the foundation of the relationship. Moreover, failing to keep a promise is indicative of a deeper disregard. It signals a lack of concern for the other person's feelings and needs. In the realm of healthy relationships, respect and consideration for each other's expectations are paramount. Broken promises, then, are not just disappointments. They are reflections of an imbalance in the relationship's core values. For those who find themselves repeatedly on the receiving end of such betrayals, it invites a period of introspection. Why do we allow this pattern to continue? What about these dynamics keeps us engaged? This is not about self-blame, but about understanding our role in these interactions and our own expectations from relationships. Handling broken promises requires a nuanced approach. It involves open communication, expressing how the broken promise affected you without resorting to accusation or hostility. It's about setting clear and reasonable expectations for the future and, crucially, evaluating whether these patterns are characteristic of the relationship. At its heart, this issue also touches upon our self-worth and the boundaries we set in our relationships. Recognizing our worth helps us establish what we are willing to accept from others. Boundaries, once set, must be communicated and adhered to. They are not just lines drawn in the sand. They are the defining perimeters of our self-respect and dignity. In the realm of interpersonal relationships, there exists a subtle yet insidious imbalance often overlooked: the phenomenon of unilateral benefit. This is a situation where the scales of give and take are skewed, heavily favoring one side. It's a dynamic where one person becomes the giver, perpetually pouring into the relationship, while the other remains the taker, consistently withdrawing without replenishing. Consider the scenarios that typify such relationships. There might be continuous requests for favors, financial support, or emotional labor, with little to no reciprocation. The giver often finds themselves perpetually on call, ready to meet the needs of the taker, yet their own needs remain unacknowledged, unmet. The psychological toll of being in a unilaterally beneficial relationship is significant. It's not just about feeling unappreciated. It's about the gradual erosion of one's sense of value and worth. The giver may start to question their own importance in the relationship, leading to feelings of inadequacy and resentment. Why do these dynamics emerge? At times, it's a matter of personality types. One person naturally inclined to give, the other to take. In other instances, it's about established patterns, where the roles of giver and taker have been reinforced over time, becoming a comfortable, albeit unhealthy, norm. Recognizing the pattern of unilateral benefit is the first critical step. It requires a keen observation of the relationship's dynamics. Who is consistently asking, who is perpetually giving, and what is the emotional aftermath of these exchanges? Addressing this imbalance is a journey of assertive communication and boundary setting. It involves having honest conversations about the nature of the relationship, expressing your feelings and needs, and being clear about what you expect in return. This isn't about keeping a transactional score, but about seeking a mutual, respectful exchange of support and care. Central to navigating these relationships is the understanding and affirmation of your own self-worth. Know that you deserve a relationship of mutual respect and reciprocity. Establishing and maintaining boundaries is not selfish. It's a vital act of self-preservation and respect for your own needs and well-being. One of the most poignant and painful experiences is being in a relationship where your emotions and needs are consistently disregarded. This isn't just about occasional oversight. It's a persistent pattern where one's feelings and needs are not just unmet, but often unrecognized. Imagine a scenario where your emotions are met with indifference, or worse, disdain, where your expressions of pain or discomfort are dismissed, minimized, or even ridiculed. This kind of emotional neglect can be subtle, yet its effects are deeply corrosive, eroding the very foundation of trust and respect in a relationship. The psychological impact of such disregard is profound. It leads to a sense of isolation, of being emotionally marooned. The person on the receiving end may begin to doubt their own feelings, questioning whether they are valid or worthy of attention. This self-doubt can spiral into a deeper sense of inadequacy and low self-esteem. But what drives someone to consistently disregard the emotions and needs of others? It could stem from a lack of empathy, a preoccupation with their own needs, or even deep-seated emotional issues that prevent them from engaging with others' feelings. Understanding these underlying factors, while not excusing the behavior, can offer some insight into these dynamics. Recognizing this pattern is crucial. It often requires stepping back and objectively assessing the relationship. Are your emotional expressions met with empathy or indifference? Are your needs considered or consistently sidelined? Once recognized, addressing this issue involves clear, assertive communication. It's about expressing how this neglect makes you feel and setting expectations for how you wish to be treated. Central to dealing with emotional neglect is self-care and the establishment of firm boundaries. It's about prioritizing your own emotional well-being, understanding that you deserve to be in a relationship where your feelings and needs are acknowledged and respected. Setting boundaries is not just about telling others how to treat you. It's about making choices that align with your own self-respect and dignity. In the intricate ballet of human relationships, there exists a less harmonious dance, the dance of constant competition. This is a scenario where the relationship morphs into a battleground, each interaction tinged with the need to outdo, to surpass, to dominate. Here, companionship is overshadowed by rivalry, creating a tumultuous and often toxic environment. Imagine a relationship where every conversation turns into a contest, where every shared experience becomes a field for one-upmanship, whether it's about career achievements, personal hardships, or even trivial matters. The need to win permeates the interaction. This relentless competition can strain the very threads that hold the relationship together. Psychologically, this constant need to compete stems from a deeper place of insecurity and a craving for validation. For someone locked in this competitive mindset, the relationship is less about mutual growth and more about affirming their own superiority. The impact on the other person is equally significant. Feelings of inadequacy, frustration, and emotional exhaustion are common. The nature of this competitive interaction disrupts the fundamental principles of a healthy relationship: support, empathy, and mutual respect. Instead of a safe haven, the relationship becomes a perpetual challenge, a never-ending game where the rules are skewed in favor of one player. Recognizing this pattern is critical. It begins with noticing the subtle signs, the consistent need to overshadow, the reluctance to acknowledge or celebrate your achievements, the subtle put-downs. Addressing this requires a combination of self-reflection and assertive communication. It's about understanding your role in this dynamic and expressing your need for a more balanced, supportive interaction. Redefining such a relationship involves establishing new norms where competition gives way to collaboration, where the success of one is not seen as the failure of the other. This may require setting clear boundaries, seeking external support or counseling, and in some cases, reevaluating the viability of the relationship itself.
There's a curious yet troubling pattern that often emerges: superficial closeness. This is a scenario where the depth of the relationship is an illusion, a mirage of intimacy that vanishes when tested by the realities of commitment and sacrifice. It's a dynamic where the surface sparkles with warmth and camaraderie, yet the foundational layers lack the solidity of genuine connection. Picture a relationship that brims with laughter, shared moments, and seemingly deep conversations. Yet when the tides turn, when the need for real emotional support or commitment arises, this closeness recedes like a wave, leaving behind a confusing void. This selective engagement, where convenience dictates the depth of connection, can leave one feeling valued only in moments of ease and joy, but invisible in times of need. The emotional landscape of such relationships is complex. On one hand, there's the joy of shared moments, the semblance of a bond. On the other, there's a lingering sense of unfulfillment, a nagging doubt about the authenticity of the connection. This duality can be disorienting, often leading to feelings of self-doubt and questioning one's worth in the other person's life. Why do some engage in superficial closeness? It could be a fear of vulnerability, an unwillingness to invest emotionally, or perhaps a pattern of seeking connections without the weight of commitment. Understanding these underlying motives, while challenging, can offer insights into the nature of these interactions. Recognizing this pattern is crucial. It involves discerning the difference between genuine intimacy and its superficial counterpart. This recognition often comes from observing the consistency of the other's involvement. Are they present only during moments of leisure and absent during times of struggle? Addressing this dynamic involves honest, open communication about your needs and expectations in the relationship. Navigating away from superficial closeness and towards a more balanced relationship requires a recalibration of expectations. It's about understanding that a meaningful connection involves both the joys and the trials, the laughter and the tears. It requires a mutual willingness to be present, not just in moments of convenience, but in times of real emotional demand. There's a deeply troubling rhythm that some relationships fall into: the persistent lack of respect. This isn't about occasional misunderstandings or missteps. It's a recurring pattern of behavior that systematically undermines one's dignity and self-worth. It manifests through words and actions that consistently devalue, demean, or disregard. Imagine a relationship where derogatory comments are not anomalies, but the norm, where your feelings are repeatedly dismissed and your boundaries are consistently ignored. This pattern of disrespect can take various forms, from overt criticism and belittlement to subtle forms of gaslighting and manipulation. The common thread is the message it sends: you are not valued as an equal, and your emotions and perspectives are not worthy of consideration. The impact of persistent disrespect is profound and far-reaching. It chips away at self-esteem, breeds a sense of powerlessness, and can leave deep emotional scars. The recipient of such behavior often finds themselves in a vortex of confusion and self-doubt, questioning their own worth and reality. This constant erosion of respect can transform the nature of the relationship into one that is fundamentally unhealthy and unbalanced. But why does this pattern of disrespect persist? It could be rooted in the other person's own insecurities, a desire to exert control, or simply a lack of empathy and understanding. Regardless of the cause, the result is a toxic dynamic where one person's needs and feelings are systematically invalidated. Recognizing this pattern is the first crucial step toward addressing it. It requires a clear-eyed assessment of how you are being treated in the relationship. Are your opinions consistently dismissed? Are your feelings regularly trivialized? Confronting this reality, though painful, is essential. It paves the way for assertive communication, expressing clearly and firmly how these behaviors affect you and setting non-negotiable boundaries for how you expect to be treated. Navigating out of a cycle of disrespect hinges on a strong sense of self-respect and the courage to make difficult decisions. This might involve seeking external support, such as counseling or confiding in trusted friends or family. In some cases, it may require re-evaluating the future of the relationship itself. It's about recognizing that you deserve to be in a relationship where respect is foundational, not optional.
There's a subtle yet telling sign that often reveals the nature of a relationship: the lack of personal interest. This is not merely about conversational preferences. It's a consistent pattern where one person's life, experiences, and emotions take a backseat to the other's self-centered narrative. It's a dynamic where the conversation is less of an exchange and more of a monologue. Consider the times when interactions with someone leave you feeling like an audience member rather than a participant in a dialogue. They weave tales of their own lives, their achievements, their challenges, with little regard for your input. Your experiences, when shared, are often met with disinterest or swiftly redirected back to their own stories. This lack of personal interest is not just about poor conversational skills. It's a reflection of a deeper imbalance in the relationship. The emotional impact of being in such a relationship is significant. It can leave you feeling undervalued and invisible. Over time, this one-sided interaction can lead to feelings of frustration and emotional exhaustion. It's the realization that your role in the relationship is reduced to that of a sounding board rather than an active, valued participant. Why does this pattern of self-absorption occur? It could stem from a variety of underlying factors: a deep-seated narcissism, a lack of empathy, or perhaps an ingrained habit of dominating conversations. Whatever the cause, the result is a relationship dynamic that is skewed towards fulfilling one person's need for attention and validation at the expense of the other's need for reciprocal engagement. Recognizing this pattern is key to addressing it. It involves observing the nature of your conversations. Are they mutual exchanges or one-sided narratives? Addressing this dynamic requires assertive communication, expressing your need for a more balanced interaction, where your thoughts and experiences are given equal weight and consideration. Navigating towards a more balanced relationship involves fostering a culture of mutual interest and respect. It's about creating space in conversations for both parties to share and be heard. This might require setting explicit expectations about the nature of your interactions, and in some cases, reevaluating the relationship if these expectations are consistently unmet. In the complex world of human interactions, there lies a subtle yet potent form of manipulation, the art of making someone feel guilty or obligated to act against their own desires. This isn't just about persuasion. It's a deeper, more insidious method of control. It's where emotional leverage is used as a tool, bending someone's will through guilt or a sense of duty. Imagine being in a situation where your decisions are not truly your own, but rather a response to an undercurrent of guilt or obligation instilled by someone else. They might frame requests in a way that playing on your emotions, making it seem as though declining would be a personal failure or a sign of ingratitude. This emotional manipulation can be subtle, cloaked in the guise of affection or concern, yet its aim is to steer your actions to align with their desires. The impact of such manipulation on one's psyche is profound. It leads to a constant second-guessing of one's choices, a pervasive sense of being trapped in a cycle of obligation. Over time, this can erode your sense of autonomy, leading to feelings of resentment and helplessness. It's the realization that your agency is being compromised, your boundaries blurred by the weight of imposed guilt. The tactics employed in this form of manipulation vary. It could range from subtle hints to overt emotional blackmail. Common phrases like, "After all I've done for you," or "If you really cared about me," are red flags, signaling a manipulation of your feelings for their benefit. It's a strategy that plays on your vulnerabilities, turning your empathy and conscience against you. Recognizing this manipulative pattern is crucial. It requires a keen awareness of how your emotions are being influenced. Are you doing things out of genuine desire, or because of an induced sense of guilt or indebtedness? Confronting this requires assertive communication and boundary setting. It's about expressing your discomfort with this dynamic and reasserting your right to make decisions free from emotional coercion. Setting and maintaining personal boundaries is key in countering emotional manipulation. It's about defining your limits and sticking to them, even in the face of guilt-inducing tactics. This might involve seeking support from friends, family, or a professional to reinforce your resolve and provide perspective. There's a distressing pattern that can emerge, often subtly and insidiously, the pattern of making someone feel perpetually inadequate. This goes beyond constructive criticism or occasional disagreements. It's a relentless undercurrent of criticism and belittlement, a continuous message that you're not good enough. Picture being in a relationship where your actions, choices, and even your character are constantly under scrutiny. Each word or gesture is met with criticism or sarcastic remarks. Instead of feeling uplifted and supported, you find yourself trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and diminished self-esteem, always striving, yet never succeeding in meeting an elusive standard. The impact of being on the receiving end of such persistent negativity is profound. It can lead to a chronic sense of inadequacy, where you start believing the critical messages you hear. Your self-esteem erodes, and you may begin to question your worth and capabilities. This constant belittlement can create a feeling of being small, powerless, and unworthy in the relationship. But what drives someone to perpetually criticize or belittle their partner? Often, it's rooted in their own insecurities or a desire to exert control. By keeping you in a state of self-doubt, they maintain a position of dominance. Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it can provide perspective on the dynamics at play. Recognizing this destructive pattern is the first step towards addressing it. It involves acknowledging that constant criticism and belittlement are not normal or acceptable aspects of a healthy relationship. Addressing this issue requires a combination of self-reflection, assertive communication, and setting clear boundaries. It's about conveying how these comments affect you and asserting your right to be treated with respect and kindness. Building and maintaining your self-worth is crucial in this situation. It's about reconnecting with your strengths and values and affirming to yourself that you are deserving of respect and kindness. Surrounding yourself with supportive people, engaging in activities that bolster your self-esteem, and if necessary, seeking professional help, can aid in this process.